So, what is a constitution really? We all kind of think we know, but today we're going to peel back the layers and look at it in a way you probably haven't before. When you hear that word, constitution, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's this image of a stuffy, super formal document, right? Just a bunch of rules written a long, long time ago. But is that really all it is? Or could it be something much bigger? Something that actually defines the very character, the soul of a nation? Let's dig in, starting with the word itself. You know, the origin of the word gives us a huge clue. It comes from the Latin constituere, which doesn't mean to rule or to command. It means to set up or to establish. Right from the start, it's about creation, not just restriction. So, what is it setting up? Well, a government. At its heart, a constitution is the supreme law of the land. It's the foundational blueprint that organizes the state and, maybe most importantly, defines the relationship between that government and the people it's supposed to serve. Here's probably the best way to think about it. Imagine a nation is like a powerful computer. The Constitution? That's the operating system. It's the core code that tells all the other programs how to run, what they can and can't do. First things first, this operating system creates the main hardware, so to speak. It sets up a legislature to make the laws, an executive branch to actually implement those laws, and a judiciary to interpret them. This is that classic, absolutely vital separation of powers. And it doesn't just create these parts and walk away. No, it tells them exactly how much power they have and how they're supposed to share it. You know, whether that's between the different branches or maybe between a national government and smaller state governments. It's the blueprint for who does what. Now, this is huge. The Constitution is also meant to be your personal shield. It lays out your fundamental rights, and sometimes your duties too, all designed to protect you from the government getting too powerful or overstepping its bounds. For instance, India's Constitution has entire sections just for this. And finally, a constitution is like a mission statement for the whole country. It's a declaration of a nation's identity, its core values, like, say, being a secular republic. It acts as a roadmap, pointing the way toward the social and economic goals the nation wants to achieve. But just like with computers, not all operating systems are built the same way. Constitutions come in a few different flavors, a few different architectural styles. So first you've got this split between written and unwritten. A written constitution, like you'd find in the USA or India, is exactly what it sounds like. It's all there in one single, organized document that was deliberately created. But an unwritten one, like the UK's, is different. It's not in one place. It's evolved over hundreds of years through historic documents, various laws, and just traditions. Then you have this question of how easy it is to change things. A flexible constitution can be changed pretty easily, just like any other law. It's meant to be dynamic. On the flip side, a rigid one needs a special, much more difficult process to amend it, which gives it a lot of stability. And what's really interesting is that some countries, like India, actually have a mix of both. And this whole idea was captured perfectly by India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. He basically said that if you make a constitution too rigid, too permanent, you're not protecting the nation. You're actually stopping its growth. It has to be a living, breathing document. Okay, this brings us to a really, really critical question. If a country has a document, and they call it a constitution, does that automatically make it a free and democratic country? Or put another way, can you have the rule book but still live under a tyranny? Well, the answer is a big, flashing yes. And that's because there is a world of difference between having a constitution, the physical document, and actually believing in constitutionalism, the idea behind it. Here's a powerful way to think about it. A constitution is a thing, like a single human. But constitutionalism, that's the spirit, the values, like humanity itself. So what is constitutionalism? It's the philosophy, the deep belief that a government's power isn't absolute. It has to come from the people, and it must be limited by the law. It's the idea that says, look, we need a government with power, but we have to put guardrails on that power. And this incredibly powerful idea is built on two main pillars. And those pillars are limited government, meaning power has clear boundaries it can't cross, and the rule of law, which means that everybody,
and I mean everybody, including the rulers, has to follow the law. It's these principles that stop a government from becoming oppressive.
A dictator can easily write a constitution that just says, hey, the dictator has unlimited power. See? They have the document, but they completely lack the spirit of constitutionalism. A true democracy only happens when you have both, the Constitution as the framework and constitutionalism as the guiding soul. So what does this idea look like in the real world? Well, it's a system where the government's power comes from we the people. It's where the branches of government check and balance each other, where the courts are truly independent, and where the whole thing is built on a deep, fundamental respect for your individual rights. At the end of the day, that's really the key takeaway here. A constitution gives a nation its structure, its skeleton. But constitutionalism, that belief in limited government, the rule of law, and human rights, that's what gives that structure its soul. And this leaves us with a pretty profound question to think about. It's one thing to write all these amazing ideals down on paper, but in a world that's changing so fast, how do we make sure we actually live up to them? How do we protect the living spirit of the law and not just the words on the page? That, right there, is the ongoing challenge for every single democracy.